So we talk a lot about money and intentional buying / shopping on this channel. I really do believe that the key to feeling good about your money and your spending is to know your values and to set aside money for guilt-free spending so that you can enjoy the things you want to enjoy while still reaching your other goals financially. But to do that in practice successfully, you kind of have to know what it is you want. And I think an underrated way to find out what it is you want is by knowing what you don't want. Sometimes the process of elimination can be a really powerful tool. So in today's video, I wanted to share with you all the things I'm no longer buying for my wardrobe. And before I get into this list, if some of these things that are on my list is exactly your style and they're things that you absolutely love, I think that is a good thing. It shows that we have different styles, different aesthetics, and different tastes, and it really goes to show the power of the personal in personal style. I think what these lists really help do is to distill down exactly what it is you like by filtering out the stuff that you don't. So our list should be different, and it doesn't mean that any of these styles are bad, but I think what this really is a reminder for me that I can admire a look on someone else, but it doesn't mean that I need to own it for myself. So keep that in mind as you go through this video. And let me know what's on your do not buy list in the comments below. I'm so curious, and I think we can all help each other out with this too. I built this list off of a few things. One is that I've had flops in my wardrobe and I've wasted money on these things in the past, so I don't want to repeat that cycle. Two is that I learned a lot about my personal style since I did my initial wardrobe declutter. And three is that there's just simply things that I don't want to compromise on anymore, and I'd rather put my money somewhere else. Because the truth of the matter is, especially when it comes to clothing or things that we just enjoy buying, there's always going to be something to want. So it's really a cost-benefit analysis on whether or not you want to spend that money today or wait for something else to come along that you could potentially like better. So let's get into it. So the first thing I am no longer buying are majority synthetic pieces. This specifically goes to my favorites in my wardrobe, like t-shirts, sweaters, trousers, and blazers. I am a sweaty gal, I overheat easily, and I don't really like majority synthetic clothing close to my body unless it's workout gear or the garment needs a lot of synthetic in it for its purpose, like a parka, a raincoat, that type of thing. I'm more talking about things that I wear all the time and that I need to feel soft and comfortable and most importantly breathable on my body. So for example, I've had a lot of majority synthetic blazers in the past and I find I just couldn't wear them long term. I would get really hot in them, I'd overheat, and they also just felt a little bit less premium and kind of cheap to me compared to some of my majority natural fiber wool blend blazers. I don't mind a little bit of a synthetic ratio in there. For example, a lot of my blazers are not 100% wool, they're like a majority wool blend. That I don't mind so much. But if I'm going to be adding anything new to my wardrobe, the material is one of the first things that I look at now. And if I see that it's a majority polyester pair of trousers or t-shirt or blazer, anything like that, then even if I really love it, I tend to rule it out because I just know that it's not going to feel good on my body when I wear it. Number two is anything frilly. I have tried to wear frills in the past. Like if you really do a deep dive of my Instagram, you'll see that there's like a pirate shirt or two that shows up there. So I prefer things like clean lines, minimal lines, more sharp edges, things like shoulder pads, V-necks, crew necks. I really don't feel good or myself in anything super embellished, frilly, and just very girly. So I'm talking about things like puff sleeves, Peter Pan collars, poofy, more bohemian skirts or dresses. And I've been curious about them. When you see things a lot, you get curious. So there's brands like Ganni that have really kind of brought this femininity and that sort of romantic resurgence back into the mainstream. I also love the way people style this aesthetic, but on me personally, it just never feels right. And I know it's just not for me. So it's something that I could admire, but I am very happy to let other people enjoy. And it's not something that I need to spend my money on. Same goes for things like patterns. I don't really wear a lot of patterns in my wardrobe. I think I have like 2 checked blazers, and those are the ones, surprisingly, that I wear the least. So I don't really like things like florals, geometric patterns. And when I do like a pattern, I find it tends to be pretty muted and toned down. And I think for me, it kind of leans back into that ultra feminine, romantic vibe that I don't tend to like for my own personal style. And on the other end, I think it can feel a little bit too preppy for me, which I also don't feel my best in. But in general, if it's a patterned item, I do make sure I think twice about it, because I know that they're pieces that just don't get a lot of mileage in my wardrobe. Especially florals for me, it's a no. But you know, before we go any further, I have some bills to pay, and that's where I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, AG1. Gotta get that bag, you know? But seriously though, if there's things that I stopped buying, it was a bunch of different supplements and powders and potions, because all I do now is just drink one of these a day and I'm good to go. Wearing all white with this green drink was probably not a good idea, but I like to live life on the edge. The AG1 supplement contains 75 vitamins, probiotics, and superfoods all in one daily serving to help you support your focus, energy, gut health, and digestion without the need to take a bunch of pills or supplements a bunch of times a day. It's also dairy-free, gluten-free, nut-free, and doesn't contain any eggs, sugar, or GMOs. And unlike other green supplements I've tried, it actually tastes good. So thank you so much to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. If you did want to give them a try yourself, you can check out the link in the description below where you can get 5 free travel packs with your first purchase, plus a year's supply of their vitamin D K2 drops. Or you can scan this QR code right here. Jokes aside, your support of the brands really does help support me so I can keep making free content like this for you. So thanks again to AG1, and thank you. Don't get it on your white pants. Don't get it on your white pants. Next are Breton stripes. Look, I love French girl style. Part of my fantasy self is just to be this like effortless Parisian cool girl, and I'm just fabulous and I can wear a red lip and have cool tousled hair and just be effortless and fabulous all day long eating my baguette. And one of the staples in the French girl wardrobe is the Breton stripe. Believe me, I love it on other people. It's absolutely classic. I hate stripes on me. And it's not because, you know, horizontal stripes can make you look quote unquote wider or anything like that. I think it just feels really preppy to me, and I never quite feel right or like myself. I recently did a closet declutter on my channel, and I decluttered my last Breton stripe sweater because I just simply never wore it, and it was beautiful. It was from Reformation, it was cashmere, it was comfortable, it was soft, it was 100% natural fibers, it was great, it was everything. I was able to pass it on, so circular fashion, we love that, but I'm not gonna spend my money there again because I just know I'm not gonna wear it. And I'm not gonna convince myself otherwise, so having it on this list is a good reminder of just like, hey, I know you like it, but this is part of your fantasy self that you don't actually want to make a reality. You've tried it, let it go, bye. Next is anything warm toned. I know there has been a lot of buzz about color analysis and undertones and all of that stuff, and I actually did have a color analysis done by Sina of Use Less. If you want to see that video, I'll leave it linked. Through that analysis, I learned that I am a deep, cool, and clear color type. So I'm not totally pink in my undertone. I do think I tend to lean a bit more neutral, and when I buy things like foundation shades, I usually go for a neutral undertone, and that works better for me. But this also helps me figure out whether or not I'm going to wear gold or silver. Joke's on me, I'm wearing a lot of gold today, but it is a much more pale and desaturated gold, which I still don't mind wearing. It's not like you have to get rid of everything if you do have a color analysis. In that video too, we also talk about ways to wear your wrong colors or wrong undertones if you want to. So go check out that video if you want to learn more. This is how you maintain a sustainable wardrobe. It's how you use what you have just a bit more strategically. But in general, if I were to go for a piece of jewelry, silver is actually a lot better on me. I started incorporating a lot more silver pieces in my jewelry wardrobe, I guess, and I think it just does brighten up my face, my skin. It kind of pops on me a little bit more than even this gold, but especially this kind of gold. Like this yellow brassy gold is really not good on me. But also this has really helped with my makeup because I came of age in beauty guru YouTube, you know, when everybody had that one Anastasia palette with all like the pinks and burnt oranges. Everything was super warm toned. Warm tone blushes, lipsticks, eyeshadows made me look dead. It just made me look paler than I even am, and I'm pretty pale. It just makes me look really sallow. And clothing does that for me too. Pretend this pillow is a shirt. It's like not really that great, right? Is this a warm tone green? Compared to something like this, which I think looks better. So avoiding warmer tones for me not only helps with things like my clothing, but it also helps with things like my jewelry and my makeup. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm getting rid of all my jewelry like this. There is a time and a place for it. If I wanted to wear this necklace, then I might wear it with like a black turtleneck, a la Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It's a vibe, okay? But as long as I have something that's more in my undertone or color palette closer to my face, then wearing a gold like this won't kind of weigh me down as much. So that's how you can continue to wear your pieces that are not quote unquote your undertone or color. But in the future, I know to avoid the warmer tones and yellow golds like this. Which brings me into the next thing I no longer buy, which are pastels or any desaturated tones or colors. So within that color palette, again, I was typed as a deep, cool, and clear. So deep means saturation. Deeper shades like this tend to complement me more than shades that are really light and desaturated like this. Same with things like clarity. So I can wear clearer colors that are quite deep, like this blue. I think this blue is really, really fun. Compared to a blue like this that I still like and I still wear, but I just have to know that I might feel a little bit more off or sallow or desaturated in it. Like I used to have a pastel pink t-shirt in my wardrobe. I had like a pastel green button down in my wardrobe, and I never understood for the longest time why I hated them and I did ultimately end up decluttering those, but I know now it's because those darker, deeper, more saturated tones tend to look better on me. So that depth and contrast is really what I like to have in my wardrobe when I'm shopping nowadays. This one hasn't changed from when I said it even the first time, but it is high heels. I want to say that this one is more universal than I think. High heels just hurt your feet. I do have some shoes that have maybe like a 3-inch heel to them, but the important thing with those is that I can walk in them and they are actually comfortable. So I can wear them for long periods of time. I can stand in them. I can walk in them. My most important thing with shoes is that they have to be wearable and they have to be comfortable, including when they have a heel. And a lot of super, super high heels just aren't. Next are lukewarm pieces. You know, pieces that are just kind of meh. I don't think you need to be in absolute love with a lot of the pieces in your wardrobe. Like, I don't get this visceral, fuzzy feeling whenever I put on a pair of leggings. There's clothes in our closet that I think serve real functional purposes, and then there's the ones that kind of add that little spice and make you feel great. But what I'm kind of getting at here is I don't want to feel like I settled for an item, especially if I need to spend money on it. It either needs to serve a functional purpose or I have to feel like a total babe in it. And that feeling that you want to feel is going to be different for everyone. Does it evoke a sense of casual relaxation? Is it elevated, elegant? Is it sharp? Is it romantic? So I think this is where you can sort of tap into your 3 style words. Really kind of pay attention on the role that piece of clothing is playing in your wardrobe and if it's making you feel the way you want to in it. But I have a saying for a lot of things when it comes to how I spend my money. I use it if I'm decluttering. It's kind of a catch-all for a lot of things. If it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. And like I said, you might not necessarily feel all hell yes about a pair of leggings, but there's other hell yeses to that equation. Maybe you like the way they fit on you. Maybe you like the rise. Maybe you like the material. I think the hell yes can kind of change based on what you need and what you want from each garment. So I think when you know what your yes is, it's going to be a lot easier to say no to the things that just aren't cutting it. I've made this mistake more than once, and I am no longer buying any beige pants. I've decluttered pretty much every camel color khaki pair of trousers I've ever had in my wardrobe, including the ones that I decluttered and then decided, hey, let me try this again, and I rebought them. You don't want to be caught up in that cycle because, at least for me, I just ended up back in the same place and I ended up reselling the same pants twice. And it's because I love the way a camel trouser looks. I think it looks so elegant, so elevated. But for me, I just always ended up feeling like I was working at Best Buy or something. It just never felt right, and it could be because of the color. Maybe the tones weren't deep enough. Maybe like a deeper brown trouser is probably better for me, or like a more stark white trouser even. But I have a policy now. I am not buying any more beige pants. Super chunky shoes. I talk a lot about dressing for proportion. We talk a lot about the Tibby rule of big, slim skin on the channel, and it's essentially how you create a sense of balance in your outfit when things are feeling off. So I do like to employ this rule when I'm getting dressed. I'll often wear a pair of like wide leg pants or an oversized blazer and then kind of contrast that oversizedness, if that's a word, with a slimmer top or a slimmer shoe. But I never feel right when I have a really heavy, chunky shoe at the bottom. Even if I try to balance it against like a slimmer silhouette on top, I still always end up feeling really weighed down whenever I do a chunky shoe. So I've kind of realized that I prefer a slimmer silhouette of shoe when it comes to most of my shoes across the board. I do still own one pair of chunky sneakers and a pair of chunky loafers that I did have some fun styling in my Alison Bornstein video, but I think for future, I just know I'm going to be avoiding that more chunky silhouette if I decide to add any more new shoes to my wardrobe. Oxford button downs. So these are something that you might call a love to buy, hate to wear in my wardrobe. And I think it's because I'm just always attracted to the relaxation and just the cool, kind of edgy, sharp feeling and versatility that a button down offers. So I love the thought of them, and I'm keeping the ones that I own, but I'm not buying any more of them. And it's because I just don't reach for them in my wardrobe as much as I'd like to. So they're pieces that I have to work a little bit harder to actually style and actually wear compared to things like my t-shirts, tank tops, and bodysuits, which is what I tend to gravitate toward more often and wear more often. And because of that, I'm just not buying any more of them. And finally, it's clothes for vacation. I think dressing for vacation is kind of an experiment in the fantasy self, which is who you feel like you want to dress like, but then don't actually do, or it just feels totally off when you try. But I used to be that person who would buy a whole new wardrobe in anticipation of a trip, and then I would either end up wearing the same thing that I always wear the entire time, or I would feel like a completely different person. And then you'd want to do shopping when you're there, so then you just end up with even more new clothes that you have to make time and space to wear. There was a great TikTok I saw, I'll try to leave it up here if I can find it again, but it was basically, no one knows you when you're on vacation, so why are you going out trying to buy all these new clothes that no one's ever seen you in anyway? And I love that, I totally agree. So nowadays I tend to pack items that are tried and true. They're items that I know make me feel like myself. I pack my style uniform, and I have a style uniform for most destinations, so I think I'm pretty good there. And I stopped buying new clothes ahead of vacation, unless I absolutely need something. Like, we can be reasonable here. Like, I don't know, if I need like water shoes or something, then yeah, buy what you need. But a lot of times we don't need new clothes ahead of vacation, and you'll probably want to go shopping when you're there anyway, so save your money for that. So those are some of the things that are on my do not buy list. I have a few more, so let me know if you want a part 2, and let me know in the comments what is on your do not buy list. I think it's going to be really individualized, so I'm curious to see what you all have to say. So if you like this video, please do me a favor, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. If you're new here and want to see more, please subscribe. And if you want even more content, you can check out my Patreon. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye.